There's two things. One is the hopes of what I was hoping that people would achieve, and the other thing is what happened in reality. I think that the thing resides on what I imagined the students were going to be like at the beginning, the imagination that I had, and I thought there were going to be people who were going to be very, very poor, and people who probably didn't have almost any food at home, and people who, I imagined that kind of level of poverty. And the people who came over is local families who are not rich, who you could probably say they're poor, and but they are not as poor as I imagined. So I very quickly had to change the dynamics of the course, because these people who live in central London, and even though some of them they have got these issues about food poverty, or people, a lot of these people, they're unemployed, and some of them in long-term unemployment, they are not the image of poverty that I had in my head. And they also, because they live in central London and they're in touch with all the internet and communications, their expectations about food were a lot higher than I originally imagined. So we felt the need of having to reshape the course a little bit more, so that we would be integrating some elements of ingredients and flavors and styles of cuisines that would be exciting for them. If we had done the course that we originally thought at the beginning, which was going to be very basic, cooking on a very tight budget, because it's almost thinking about, it's like the war years, then the food would have come very different and probably would have been quite boring for a lot of them. So, based on that, what I thought, still we worked with a very tight budget. We only had £100 for 5 weeks, for 8 people every week, and we managed to finish within £95. We had £5 to spare, and this budget, going back into what I was going to say about the expectations of the course, we had to change the ingredients we were going to be doing. Like, I had to introduce the use of spices and herbs and all the things that people were not very familiar with, and so that brought a lot of made people very excited about the course. So, in the end, did the course meet my expectations? In many ways it surpassed them, because I was actually very, very impressed at the level of commitment and the level of enjoyment, and and how keen people were to come to the class. On week 4, we had 5 people who were sick, and they all turned up. Somebody even dropped an appointment with a dentist. That was very important. She said she couldn't do that because she wanted to be at the course, and that to me sums it all up. Is people really enjoy the course, and that was very, very good. We definitely want to run a sequel or many sequels out of this. I would like to have this course to become like the basic cookery course for all families. Because in 5 weeks, you can see that people, they did quite a bit of learning. They were very excited about the cooking. Not everybody obviously learned at the same level, and not everybody had the same level of interest. But what I gathered in the end is that people were cooking in their houses. Some people were more confident at the end of the classes, and they were trying new things. So it met my expectations, and yes, because of that, I would like it to become a course that will be running time and time again. To do this, even though it's a cheap course to run, it was very cheap this time because it was subsidized. I did the cooking, I did a lot of the training. We already had some of the ingredients in the kitchen. A lot of the ingredients were donated, but I would like to get some fundraising, and that's really where we're going to go next. We want to get the evidence that this course was effective, and we want to go and apply for fundraising avenues so that we can keep running this course time and time again. This image that I had in my head about people who are living in extreme poverty in here, maybe it exists, but maybe it exists only in my head, and maybe the poverty is different. One thing that struck me a lot, actually, from the beginning of the class is that even though most of the students were people who were living on a budget, or people who were unemployed, it wasn't the poverty what was putting them away from being in the kitchen. It was the abundance of convenience foods and foods that are available, so that they make life really easy. So there is a lot of ready meals that are very cheap, a lot of ingredients that are pre-prepared, like chopped onions, like chopped carrots. So there is a lot of that is putting people, is making a break between, is associating people from doing the act of cooking and producing a meal, in contrast to just going and buying something that is already made. And that to me is was a big revelation. It wasn't the poverty, it wasn't the lack of interest, it was just the people didn't feel connected to their food.